All right, so are you curious about intermittent fasting at all?
Mm.
We're diving deep today into this YouTube podcast episode. It's from Legacy of Mindset.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
called The Benefits of Intermittent Fasting.
Cool.
And we're going to see what all the hype is about.
Yeah, it really has become a hot topic, hasn't it?
It has.
In the wellness world.
Yeah.
But, beyond the trendy facade,
Yeah.
I think it's so fascinating to explore the science,
Yeah.
the evidence that supports it.
Yeah, well, this episode does more than just touch on weight loss.
Right.
It gets into some pretty surprising benefits, actually.
Yeah,
That might honestly make you rethink your whole eating routine.
absolutely.
So are you ready to unpack this?
I am so ready. Let's get into it.
Okay, awesome.
So the episode kicks off by making a very clear distinction.
Okay.
Intermittent fasting is not a diet.
Okay.
It's an eating pattern.
Interesting.
It's about when you eat, not necessarily what you eat.
Okay, that's an interesting distinction.
Yeah.
So how does it actually work?
Well, they highlight two popular methods,
Okay.
the 16.8 and the 5.2.
Okay.
The 16.8 method is all about timing.
Okay.
You fast for 16 hours and have an 8-hour window to eat.
Got it.
Imagine finishing dinner at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
and then waiting until noon the next day to eat again.
Okay.
That's 16.8 in action.
So it's not about drastically reducing your calories, but
Well,
more about strategically choosing
Yes,
when you consume them.
exactly.
Okay.
Now, the 5.2 method, on the other hand, focuses on calorie restriction,
Okay.
2 days a week,
Uh-huh.
while you eat normally the other 5.
Okay.
It's about creating a cycle
Right.
where you're giving your body a break from constant digestion.
Yeah, I can see how that would appeal to people who struggle with restrictive diets. For sure. But wouldn't you feel absolutely ravenous during those fasting periods?
Yeah, it's a common concern.
Yeah.
But the episode emphasizes that the body adapts surprisingly well.
Really?
The initial hunger pangs usually subside as your body adjusts
Hmm.
to the new eating pattern. Plus, there are ways to manage hunger, like staying hydrated with water
Yeah.
or herbal tea.
Okay, so let's dive into the science behind this a little bit.
Yes, let's do it.
What's actually happening in our bodies when we fast?
Remember those commercials about ketosis?
Oh, yeah.
It's more than just marketing hype.
Okay.
When you fast, your body depletes its glucose stores,
Right.
and it forces it to turn to fat for fuel.
Uh-huh.
That's ketosis.
Oh, so that's why people often dissociate intermittent fasting with weight loss.
Exactly.
Okay.
But the episode mentions that there's much more to it than that.
Right.
They actually use a really helpful animation
Okay.
to illustrate how this shift from glucose to fat burning occurs.
Uh-huh.
And this is where things get really interesting
Okay.
because it triggers a process called autophagy.
Wait, so you're saying our cells actually clean themselves up?
Kind of like that, yeah.
How does it even work?
Think of it as your cells doing some serious spring cleaning. During autophagy, they break down and recycle damaged components, essentially regenerating themselves. The episode uses this vivid analogy of cells like cleaning out damaged components and regenerating, which I thought was really helpful to visualize it.
That is helpful.
Yeah.
It's like hitting the reset button on our cells.
Right.
But what does that actually mean for our health?
Well, research suggests that autophagy is linked to some pretty powerful benefits,
Okay.
like anti-aging and disease prevention.
Oh, wow.
It's not just about aesthetics.
Yeah.
It's about promoting cellular health and potentially slowing down the aging process.
So we've got ketosis for weight loss
Yes.
and autophagy for cellular rejuvenation.
Right.
That's already a pretty compelling combination.
Right.
But the episode goes on to list 5 key benefits
They do.
backed by science.
Yeah.
Can you walk me through those?
Of course, first and foremost, we have weight loss,
Right.
which, as we discussed, is linked to ketosis and calorie restriction.
Right.
But what's really intriguing is the impact on brain function.
Oh, that's right. The episode mentions something called BDNF.
Yes, brain-derived neurotrophic factor.
Okay.
And here's where it gets interesting for those who love learning.
Okay.
BDNF is like fertilizer for the brain.
Hmm.
It's essential for the growth and survival of neurons,
Uh-huh.
and it plays a crucial role in memory learning and overall cognitive function.
So does fasting actually boost BDNF?
It does. Studies show that fasting can significantly increase BDNF levels,
Wow.
which can potentially enhance cognitive performance and protect against neurodegenerative diseases.
That's incredible. So not only is intermittent fasting good for the body,
Right.
but it could also be beneficial for the brain.
It seems that way.
That's amazing, and the benefits don't stop there.
No, they don't.
Intermittent fasting is also linked to better blood sugar control.
That's right.
How does that work?
When you fast, your body becomes more sensitive to insulin,
Uh-huh.
the hormone responsible for regulating blood sugar levels.
Right.
This improved insulin sensitivity can help prevent type 2 diabetes and improve overall metabolic health.
Makes sense. And what about the fourth benefit?
The fourth benefit is reduced inflammation,
Okay.
which, as we know, is a major contributor to many chronic diseases.
So by reducing inflammation, could intermittent fasting actually help prevent things like heart disease and cancer?
While more research is needed, the current evidence suggests that it can have a positive impact on inflammation levels, potentially reducing the risk of chronic diseases.
That's amazing. It seems like the benefits just keep piling up.
They do.
And lastly, the episode touches on the potential for a longer lifespan.
Yes.
Is there any scientific backing to that claim?
Yes. It's one of the more fascinating areas of research.
Okay.
Intermittent fasting seems to trigger processes that may slow down aging and increase lifespan.
Okay, but how does that actually work on a cellular level?
Right. Well, the episode mentions reducing oxidative stress,
Okay.
which is basically like wear and tear on our cells caused by free radicals.
Right.
Fasting seems to ramp up the body's own defenses against this damage.
So it's like giving our cells extra armor to combat the aging process.
Exactly, and it's all connected to what we discussed earlier,
Yeah.
autophagy, that cellular cleanup process.
Right.
By getting rid of damaged parts, our cells are essentially rejuvenating,
Yeah.
which could contribute to a longer, healthier lifespan.
I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together,
Yeah,
but it's still a lot to take in.
it is.
Let's get back to the source material for a moment.
Good.
They highlighted a real-life example of someone using intermittent fasting, right?
Yes. They introduced us to Sarah, a busy mom who decided to give intermittent fasting a try.
Okay.
She chose the 16.8 method, which, remember, is fasting for 16 hours and having an 8-hour window to eat.
That's the one where you finish dinner at 8 p.m. and don't eat again until noon the next day, right?
Exactly. And Sarah's story really highlights how this method can be incorporated into a busy lifestyle.
Yeah.
She wasn't trying to overhaul her entire diet, but simply shift her eating schedule.
Right.
She found that it fit seamlessly into her routine.
Did she notice any benefits from this shift?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She reported weight loss, which wasn't her primary goal,
Uh-huh.
but a welcome side effect.
Yeah.
More importantly, she experienced increased energy throughout the day
Okay.
and even found it easier to focus on her work.
That's impressive. It sounds like she found a sustainable way to improve her overall well-being
Yeah,
without making drastic changes.
exactly. And that's one of the key takeaways from Sarah's experience.
Yeah.
Intermittent fasting doesn't have to be complicated or restrictive.
Right.
It's about finding what works for you and your individual needs.
I think a lot of people get intimidated by the idea of fasting
I agree.
because they think it'll leave them feeling deprived and miserable.
For sure.
But Sarah's story shows that it can actually be quite liberating.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
The episode emphasizes that intermittent fasting is not a diet,
Right.
but an eating pattern. It's not about deprivation,
Yeah.
but about making conscious choices
Yeah.
about when you eat. This shift in mindset can make it feel much more sustainable in the long run.
I love that it takes the pressure off.
Totally.
It's not about following strict rules, but about listening to your body and finding a rhythm that feels good.
Exactly. And speaking of finding a rhythm,
Yeah.
the episode specifically recommends starting with the 16.8 method,
Okay.
as it's considered the most beginner-friendly.
That makes sense. It's a gradual shift that allows your body to adapt to the fasting periods without feeling overwhelmed.
Exactly. And once you become more comfortable with the 16.8 method,
Yeah.
you can explore other variations like the 5.2 method or even alternate day fasting.
So there's room for experimentation and finding what works best for you.
Absolutely.
What other practical tips does the source material offer?
Well, they stress the importance of staying hydrated
Right.
during your fasting periods.
Okay.
Drinking plenty of water, herbal tea, or even black coffee can help curb hunger pangs
Yeah.
and keep you feeling energized.
That's a good reminder. It's easy to forget about hydration when you're not eating.
It is.
What about when you do break your fast?
Yeah.
Any recommendations on what to eat?
The episode suggests focusing on nutrient-dense foods when you break your fast.
Okay.
That means prioritizing whole, unprocessed foods that provide your body with essential vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants.
So things like fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and healthy fats?
Exactly. These foods will help you feel satisfied and nourish your body after the fasting period.
It sounds like a balanced and sensible approach.
It is.
But I imagine there are also some potential drawbacks or
Yeah.
things to be cautious about, right?
Of course, it's important to remember that intermittent fasting is not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
What works for one person may not work for another.
Yeah.
And the episode does caution listeners to pay attention to their bodies.
Okay.
And consult with a healthcare professional if they experience any negative side effects.
That's crucial, especially for people with underlying health conditions. Absolutely.
Or those taking medications.
Yes, it's super important.
While the potential benefits of intermittent fasting are compelling,
Right.
it's essential to approach it with caution and seek guidance from a healthcare provider.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've explored the different methods of intermittent fasting.
Yes.
Delved into the science behind it. And even heard a real-life success story.
Yeah.
And we've discussed the importance of listening to your body, staying hydrated.
For sure.
And making sure to fuel your body with nutritious foods when you break your fast.
Right.
But before we wrap up, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the final question posed by the episode.
Ah, yes, the thought-provoking question they leave us with.
It really did make me stop and think, what was it?
They ask, how might the distinction between intermittent fasting as a diet versus an eating pattern impact one's long-term success and sustainability with this approach?
That's such an insightful question.
It is.
It challenges us to examine our relationship with food.
Right.
And how we approach healthy habits.
I agree.
If you see it as just another restrictive diet, you're more likely to feel deprived.
Right.
And eventually revert back to old habits.
Yeah, like it's this temporary thing, you know?
Right.
You have to white-knuckle your way through.
Exactly. But when you embrace intermittent fasting as a sustainable eating pattern,
right,
that fits your lifestyle.
Yeah.
That's when the real magic happens.
That's when the change happens. That's when it sticks.
It becomes less about willpower.
Uh-huh.
And more about finding a rhythm that works for you.
That's a great way to put it. And I think that's what makes intermittent fasting so compelling.
Yeah.
It's not about deprivation,
right,
but about aligning your eating habits with your body's natural cycles.
Well said. So for our listener, who is now swimming in all this knowledge about intermittent fasting, where should they go from here?
The episode echoes Sarah's experience and suggests starting with the 16.8 method.
Okay.
It's a gentle introduction to the world of fasting. And remember, you can always tweak it as you go along.
Absolutely.
Find what works best for you and your lifestyle.
Yeah.
Start with a shorter fasting window and gradually increase it.
Yeah.
Or experiment with different types of food during your eating window to see what keeps you feeling your best.
Exactly.
It's all about that self-discovery.
It is.
Who knows, maybe you'll discover, like Sarah,
right,
that intermittent fasting fits seamlessly into your life.
You never know until you try it.
We'd love to hear about your experience, what resonated with you.
Yeah.
What surprised you? Did you give the 16.8 method a try? Share your thoughts and questions with us.
We're always listening.
We're always excited to dive deep together.